Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are retired New York City police detectives, and we're 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. Heck, if you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, you're in the right spot. Hit that subscribe button. DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. And tonight we're going to be talking about the Rachel Morin case, the murder suspect, Victor Martinez Hernandez. He's going to be extradited tomorrow from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and brought back to Hartford County, Maryland. You know, this, I don't even like to call him a savage. This demon has murdered two people that we know of so far. In his home country in El Salvador, he fled that country and came here, went across into California, committed a home invasion, involved a 9-year-old and his mom, and then went straight across the United States over to Maryland and committed the heinous rape and murder of Rachel Morin, mother of 5, 37 years young at the time. And as I predicted, folks, he signed the waiver of extradition, and now he is going to be brought back here. I bet my pension on it that he would have been brought back by Friday, and it looks like they're going to get him back tomorrow. Now, I don't know if they're going to fly him, they're going to drive him. This is a sensitive and very, very high sensitive security issue because he has drug ties and gang ties. So you don't want to broadcast or let the bad guy know where he's going to be transported, how he's going to be transported. All of that stuff is going to be kept secretive. And as you could see here on my shirt, it said Warrant Squad Trip Team. I worked in fugitive enforcement for over a decade, and this is what we did. We went outside of the New York metro area. We brought back fugitives of justice, and that's what's happening tomorrow. Will they fly him on Con Air? Will he go by airplane? I say probably. That's the safest way, but we don't know. I want to say thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all the folks who positively engage here in this community. You guys are what makes this a great place. So let's take a listen to what's going on here. And thank you to the moderators. Thank you to all of the folks who watch the replays as well. Here's a little bit. I'm going to just go full screen with this. This gives you a little synopsis because they did some search warrants. And I told you guys, we need to know as law enforcement professionals, the FBI, the local, state, federal partners, they need to know where this guy was from January of 2023, fast forward to June of 2024. So it's a lot of time that he's been inside the United States. And they want to have a paper trail. They want to know who is funding this guy, who is helping to harbor him, where was he staying? And it turns out he was renting a home in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's shocking that he was able to rent a home in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But let's listen to this report. That brick home. How did he get to sign either a lease or a month-to-month rental agreement? Who is responsible for getting him into that location, into that place where he was able to hide undetected? What were his internet searches? What did he do with he had a cell phone. We saw it in his back pocket when he left the home in Los Angeles, California, when that infamous video of him leaving and without his shirt on, there was a phone in his back pocket. How did he get a phone? How was an illegal immigrant with no identification able to go and get a phone and sign up for a plan? Was there somebody funding him? That's what the investigators from the FBI and the local, state, and federal partners want to find out, and that's what they're doing right now. This is the location. Obviously, they have it kind of blacked out, so you can't really see it well, but this is the location where he was hiding out. I know that he's going to be brought back to Hartford County tomorrow, and then we'll see probably charging documents released. But I want to also acknowledge the great police work and the great work of an outside lab, Ortham Labs. We talked about this on the first live stream. Ortham Labs in Texas, who has done so much work recently. They worked on the Rex Heuermann case. They have worked, and we know that they've had a hand in the Brian Kohlberger case in Idaho, in Moscow, Idaho. These folks over at Ortham are doing an unbelievable job. And genetic genealogy, forensic genetic genealogy, is just, to me, is mind-blowing, because we're at a tipping point where you can now almost guarantee, if you commit a crime and you leave some type of DNA and evidence, and with Lacard's exchange principle that Ed Wallace talks about all the time, you're bound to leave something at a crime scene. But we're at a crossroads where it's a good thing for us, because they're able to solve crimes and they're able to put stuff together, and they did an outstanding job. The FBI and the local authorities, they hired Ortham Labs to create a profile. So let's take a listen to that. I saw that FBI business card. I did see that. But, sometimes these bad guys, just me, I just want to address this real quick. Sometimes these bad guys, they associate with other bad guys, right? So I would bet my pension that he had help here within the United States. And some of those bad guys that he might have been associating with might have had a card from the FBI and they exchanged them. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he had that FBI card and there was something fugazi about it, as we say in New York, fugazi. A lot of times bad guys associate with bad guys who get visited by the FBI and so forth. So I wouldn't put too much thought into that. Florida Pete, good to see you. Barbara George, thank you for being here. Joey Brooklyn, Carson C, thank you to everybody. Black Rose, Janet, Leona, thank you for being here. A little bit, Ninny, Allison BD. I saw Wilesy Pony, my good old friend in Florida. Hi, Eileen. Faith, thank you for being here. Wanda, you made another live stream. Thank goodness you're here. I appreciate you. So let's listen to this report, because they talk with representatives from Ortham Lab. Kristen Mittman comes on, and Dr. Mittman gives quite a bit of information here. This is interesting, to say the least.
There's a new technology that scientists hope will make serial killers and cold cases a thing of the past.
And actually, it was just used by the FBI to help track down the man believed to have killed Rachel Morin in Harford County. WMER2 Elizabeth Worthington joins us now with an in-focus look at this technology.
Let me know if the volume is good just by saying yes, if the volume is good. Oh, I'm glad that you're relaxing in bed. Yes, I did. Thank you. Resting in bed. Let me know if the volume is good. Hi, Lorraine. Thank you for being here. Lorraine Lawrence in the building. Cat Lover as well. Let me know if the volume is good just by saying yes, if you guys can hear it good. If you can't, I'll turn it up a little bit. I could probably turn it up just a tad bit more.
And Elizabeth, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And Rachel Morin's mother said she was actually worried that her daughter's murder case was going to go cold. But finally, after 10 months, police believe they have their guy. It took advanced DNA technology to crack the case. So we talked to the co-founder of the company that's responsible for identifying the suspect. A DNA dead end. That's how Dr. Kristen Middleman described Rachel Morin's murder investigation.
A lot of the times, these perpetrators are not in the database. As in this case, Victor was not in the database.
That database is called CODIS. It's what the FBI uses to match DNA found at a crime scene to people already in the system, like convicted offenders. After Rachel Morin's body was discovered along the Mon.
Hey, I just want you to know, Ed Wallace and myself, we covered this when it was in its infancy stages, and we talked about an unidentified male's DNA, an unknown male's DNA. When it's not in CODIS, there's also CODIS, and there's a crime scene index as well. There's a crime scene index, and they matched them up with the help of Ortham Labs, but they did have, I mean, obviously we know they had video, but they had DNA from both these crime scenes. They tied them back from Los Angeles back to the crime scene in Maryland. And as we know, that was a brutal crime scene. Rachel had a tremendous amount of blunt force trauma to the head. without getting too descriptive, I mean, it was difficult to identify her on scene. So this was a brutal murder and rape, and there was a lot of DNA left behind by this perpetrator. So Ortham Labs gets contracted probably by the Hartford County District Attorney and the FBI, and they do an unbelievable bang-up job here.
Paw trail in the system like convicted offenders.
As in this case, Victor was not in the database.
That database is called CODIS. It's what the FBI uses to match DNA found at a crime scene to people already in the system, like convicted offenders. After Rachel Morin's body was discovered along the Mon Paw Trail in Bel Air in August, a DNA hit linked the suspect to another crime, the assault of a 9-year-old girl and her mother at a home in Los Angeles a few months earlier. Surveillance footage from that case provided police with a physical description, but still no name.
There are people in CODIS with 13 crime scenes, 5 crime scenes, 7 crime scenes, and there's no identification of that person.
And the reason there's no identification of that person is because they never were arrested and convicted in the United States. In this case, he was an illegal alien. He came into this country illegally, and he had no arrest history. And the same goes for a legal citizen. If you have no criminal record and you leave your DNA somewhere, and you've never been arrested, you're not going to be in CODIS. And that's where the problem came in with this unidentified male DNA. And Kristen talks about it really well here because she knows her stuff.
Crime scenes, 7 crime scenes, and with 13 crime scenes, 5 crime scenes, 7 crime scenes, and there's no identification of that person, yet they have been caught. Their DNA has been found in crime scenes and entered into CODIS so many times, knowing that they're a serial predator.
That's where Dr. Middleman's company came in. Othram was founded in 2018 to help solve previously unsolvable cases. They build DNA profiles using hundreds of thousands of markers and basically build a family tree with distant relatives. 5th and 6th cousins are helping crack these cases.
It's like a little sonar. You know, you're this far away from this person and this far away from this person and this far away from this person. So you could only belong here in a family tree.
In 2019, Othram had 5 identifications. Now the team of scientists has thousands. One of them, Victor Martinez Hernandez. Hartford County Sheriff Jeff Gaylor credits the technology with preventing Rachel Morin's alleged killer from striking again.
For us to get that hit, it probably would have taken another act of violence.
Because he was not in CODIS, even committing the next crime and his DNA being found, they would have just linked another crime scene, but again, with no identity. And so
that's the problem, that Ortham Labs bridges the gap, because they went into his home country, and once Ortham got into the mix, they were able to go back into El Salvador and go into his family history, and take DNA from family members and compare. Once Ortham got involved, and you're going to hear what Kristen has to say about her involvement and her company's involvement. It's just unbelievable what they did here.
And another act of violence.
Because he was not in CODIS, even committing the next crime and his DNA being found, they would have just linked another crime scene, but again, with no identity. And so they would have had to have an eyewitness. They would have had to have a better description. And you saw the sketches.
And this tech doesn't just help identify perpetrators, but victims too. For example, just last week, they finally gave a name to a woman who was killed in California in the 80s, whose identity has been a mystery ever since.
Wow. And this is something I've wondered all along as we've covered this case. They knew he was a suspect, but we didn't know where he was. How new is this? We didn't know who he was, rather. How new is this technology?
Yeah, it doesn't sound super new. I mean, we've all heard of Ancestry, DNA, 23andMe, those types of things.
Yeah, but those companies, as we know, are shitheads, and they don't share their data for the good of finding criminals. And that's, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but it really pisses me off that companies like that will try to hold back their data, and knowing that the requesting authority wants to solve a crime. So they are standing strong on privacy and personal people's personal privacy. But you know what? if you're a good law-abiding citizen and you try to do a family tree to find out your family history, I would check the box all day, every day to let law enforcement use it if need be, if it helps to solve a crime within anybody within my family. But 23andMe and all the ancestry, they don't allow it. They don't allow it. There's just a few that do, and then you have to opt in.
We've all heard of Ancestry, DNA, 23andMe, those types of things. And you can also, I go to the doctor and find out if you have the gene for a certain type of disease, like breast cancer and the BRCA gene. But this is the first time really in the last few years that they're applying those types of technology to forensics, not just the medical and consumer spaces. And like they said, 5 identifications in 2019. Now it's thousands in a year. Just this week, they had 5 cases.
Rex Sherman, the pizza crust. Well, by a show of hands, who remembers the pizza crust with Rex Sherman, the Long Island serial killer? Ortham Labs was in on that. They were in on making that identification. I love Ortham Labs so much that I want you guys to listen to this next piece, because this is kind of a little bit of a different angle, but kind of the same. It's the same, but different. I like to use that term once in a while. It gets people caught up. What do you mean, DutyRon? It's the same but different. Well, this is kind of a same storyline, but a little different, with a little different twist.
Science and investigative methods used to track down the suspect wanted for Rachel Morin's murder. Harford County Sheriff's Office and the FBI say they relied on genetic genealogy to solve this case. It's a relatively new method that has been credited for solving many high-profile cases in recent years. Our Harford County community reporter Jessica Albert spoke with the company that helped authorities narrow down the forensic evidence. She joined us live tonight from the Ma and Pa Trail in Bel Air. Jessica.
Vic, before we get to that, we do want to let you know some breaking news that we just learned from the sheriff's office. The suspect in this case, Victor Martinez Hernandez, is expected to be back here extradited to Maryland tomorrow afternoon. Now, like you said, we are learning new details about how investigators tracked him down. They worked with a company called Offram. That is a forensic genetic genealogy company located in Texas. The technology that they use helps investigators solve cases that would otherwise go cold. For nearly a year, the suspect in Rachel Morin's murder, 23-year-old Victor Martinez Hernandez, evaded capture as law enforcement tried to identify him.
Yeah, you can't get away with it anymore. Everybody leaves DNA.
Martinez Hernandez, an international fugitive.
I love what Kristen said there. Kristen said, yeah, you can't get away with it anymore. In other words, hey, jackass, you can't get away with it, because my company is going to find you and we're going to catch you and we're going to help law enforcement drag you and hogtie you and bring you in and drag you into justice. I freaking love, I would love to work for that company, even though I'm not smart enough to work for them. I would love to work for them. Unbelievable. They're doing unbelievable things.
Him.
Yeah, you can't get away with it anymore. Everybody leaves DNA.
Martinez Hernandez, an international fugitive from El Salvador, was so hard to track down because he was allegedly in the country illegally. To help find him, the Harford County.
No, he wasn't allegedly in the country illegally. He was in the country illegally. This is what I feel so bad for the news. You can't even speak the truth. You have to say he was allegedly in the country illegally. No, he was in the country illegally, and that's a fact. That's the fact, Jack.
Sheriff's Office and the FBI enlisted the help of Offram, a company specializing in forensic genetic genealogy. Dr. Kristen Middleman is Offram's chief development. FBI enlisted the help of Offram, a company specializing in forensic genetic genealogy. Dr. Kristen Middleman is Offram's chief development officer.
All we do here at Othram is identify perpetrators and victims from crime scenes, really difficult crime scenes.
They're difficult because sometimes there's only small amounts of DNA left behind, and usually that DNA is contaminated or consists of a mixture belonging to both the victim and the suspect. Othram uses a process called forensic grade genome sequencing to sort it out.
We look at hundreds and hundreds of thousands of markers across your genome, across your DNA sequence that makes you unique.
In Rachel Morin's case, a team at the FBI's Baltimore field office did the genealogy research. They took took the information from Othram and built out a family tree of Martinez Hernandez's relatives until they were able to identify him.
See that, like that, they reported that real quick. Like in that, if you watch that this news piece, you might not have caught on to that, but they developed, I'm going to put it back because it's important that we hear this. They developed this family tree from his DNA and they spliced it hundreds of thousands of times. And they developed this family tree leading them back into El Salvador. So from what I'm gathering here is that they went through Ortham to get this data. They gave them, hey, these are his families. These are his relatives. Go and question them. And they went there and they probably cheek swabbed some of his family with the El Salvadorian authorities. You heard them in the press conference. You heard them give credit. The sheriff Gaylor, Jeff Gaylor, he gave credit to the authorities, and so did the FBI lead agent in El Salvador. So with the help of the authorities there, they went to this guy's family and they were like, boom, 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 bam, we got him. Victor Martinez Hernandez. It's just unbelievable. I love this science. And I can't wait for Ed is back on U.S. soil. Ed Wallace will be joining us soon. And we'll do a deep dive into this with Ed.
Field office did the genealogy research. They took the information. This is a process called forensic grade genome sequencing to sort it out.
We look at hundreds and hundreds of thousands of markers across your genome, across your DNA sequence that makes you unique.
In Rachel Morin's case, a team at the FBI's Baltimore field office did the genealogy research. They took the information from Othram and built out a family tree of Martinez Hernandez's relatives until they were able to identify him.
This is an game-changing investigative tool.
Dr. Middleman says this technology could solve a lot more crimes, but often there's not enough funding to afford it. She's hoping legislation will be passed to make it available for all.
We're going to live in a world in the next few years where people are caught the first time they commit a crime.
We're going to live in a world in a few years where people are caught the first time when they commit a crime. And if anybody has been around, any of you guys that are OGs, and you look at this contraption here, when I went to Ed Wallace's forensic training in Rockland County, he had one of these set up. Ed Wallace had a contraption like this set up. So by a show of hands, anyone from the membership remember watching the video where I was in the laboratory with Ed? And he was showing me not exactly this piece of equipment, but something similar. And I love the statement that she made here. We're going to catch you the first time you commit a crime. We're going to catch you the first time.
We're going to live in a world in the next few years where people are caught the first time they commit a crime.
I love it. I'm all about law and order, folks. And I freaking love that that she said that. And she's not just saying that just to blow smoke up our ass. She's saying that because that's the truth, you know? And this is exciting. This is exciting for law enforcement. This is exciting for justice. This is exciting for the citizens here in the United States and of the world. Muddy Paws, thanks for the super chat. I'm an IGG practitioner, and Central American heritage cases are extremely hard to solve since they're not family profiles in the database. So the fact that they caught him is nothing short of a miracle. And there you go. We're going to hear more about it. We're going to hear a little bit more about it, but we got some little tidbits here from Kristen over at Ortham Labs. So it's exciting. And her husband, David, those two are doing unbelievable things.
Again, breaking news we just learned from the sheriff's office that Victor Martinez Hernandez is expected to be brought back here to Maryland tomorrow afternoon. We will be there when he is brought back, and we'll bring you.
And I want to ask the chat. I like to be interactive with you guys. I love to be interactive with you guys. By a show of hands in the chat, who feels that this perp, this monster, Victor Martinez Hernandez, is going to be flown back? Put a 1 in the chat. If he's going to be driven back, put a 2. Don't forget, Tulsa, Oklahoma, all the way back to Maryland is a long-ass drive. Flying, put a 1 in the chat. Driving or some other method, bus, yeah, driving would be the only other method. Put a 2. I'm going to go ahead and put my vote in, and I'm not going to tell you what I'm voting. Oh, wait, but you could see what I voted. Yeah, I feel strongly that it's going to be a flight. It's the safest way. Con Air, says Cindy. I love it. I love it. Love it. Somebody said, who cares? Well, that person shouldn't be here. If you don't care, then you're not caring for justice. But yeah, looks overwhelming. It is very risky. We did the drive. The furthest I drove somebody is about 300 miles or ish. 300 miles was the max for driving. And when it got to be further than that, we would take a commercial airline. We would go and we would take our fugitives or fugitive on a commercial airline. So I've done many of those. And I think that's exactly how they're going to do it, because he signed the waiver of extradition on Tuesday. Today is Wednesday. Wait, Tuesday. He might have signed it on Monday. Today's Wednesday. He signed it 2 days. So he signed it, I believe, Monday. And then they give you a reasonable amount of time. And they're not going to let this guy go, right? They're not going to let him go. But they give you a reasonable amount of time, because once that perp signs a waiver of extradition, he no longer has any charges with the Tulsa police. The Tulsa authorities have no charges. Once he signs the waiver of extradition, he's got no hold other than our hold from Maryland and an ICE detainer. He has an ICE detainer. He has the Maryland hold. He may have a hold from Los Angeles, depending on the severity of that crime, but he's not going anywhere. But the bottom line is they give you reasonable amount of time to make arrangements, make a flight, whether a state police, we saw with Kohlberger, they flew him back by, I believe, by a state plane from Pennsylvania. So yeah, they want to get him back as quickly and as safely as possible, but without telling anybody what they're doing. So it's going to be done secretively because of safety reasons, and rightfully so. And he'll be back tomorrow. So.
Genealogy research. They took the information from Othram and built out a family tree of Martinez Hernandez's relatives until they were able to identify him.
This is an game-changing investigative tool.
Dr. Middleman says this technology could solve a lot more crimes, but often there's not enough funding to afford it. She's hoping legislation will be passed to make it available for all.
We're going to live in a world in the next few years where people are caught the first time they commit a crime.
Again, breaking news we just learned from the sheriff's office that Victor Martinez Hernandez is expected to be brought back here to Maryland tomorrow afternoon. We will be there when he is brought back, and we'll bring you much more coverage tomorrow. But to wrap up this story, Martinez Hernandez investigators are trying to determine if he's connected to any other crimes. And like I said, we are going to make sure that we stay with this case for you. Reporting live tonight.
So yeah, he's going to be back tomorrow. And I want to just say thank you to Judy Grandstrand for gifting 5 memberships. And look who got the memberships. Some of the best and most loyal. Lexi got a membership. Barbara George, our good friend. Erica Olson, and Elena Gonzalez. Jennifer Gorman. Thank you. I'm late. Hello. Thank you for gifting those memberships. Mel Stiller. That was 5 of the best people to get a membership, and that's awesome. And thank you for Darlene Wolf for sending a super chat. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Listen, another part of this case, right? We know the political component. We know that it is highly contested about who's responsible, and I made my points very clear about who I feel and who we know is responsible for this. But the bottom line, folks, is Rachel Morin's mother, Patty, she went on to talk to the media. She went on a media kind of circuit, I believe the Monday or Tuesday. I'm just trying to look for the dates here. So this was yesterday. So she goes on. This is Rachel Morin's mom. My heart breaks for her 5 children. One of her kids, 18 years old, her oldest, is pregnant. She's expecting. And Rachel's not going to be here, obviously, to see her granddaughter born. But her oldest child, 18 years old, is expecting. And her mom went on to the news, and she was like, I do not want my daughter's name to be used as a political pawn in the upcoming election. And I respect that, because she's a victim's family. That's the mom. So you didn't hear me, and I won't mention, I'm talking about the actual forensics and the details of this case, but I'm not, again, my hyped up video from Saturday, I was really pissed off. But tonight, I'm going to try to keep this about the case and about what's going on. So if you guys could understand that and respect it, let's listen to her mom talk on Fox News. Hopefully this will play.
A subject that is no doubt going to come up in Wisconsin today is this and stories like it. The suspect in the killing of a 37-year-old mom of 5 young children has waived his right to extradition, and he will be headed to face trial. Authorities say that they just found him casually sitting at a bar in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Here he is in front of a...
And isn't that scary? Isn't that scary that this perp, this obviously innocent until proven guilty, right? But this perp, this monster, was in a sports bar drinking drinks amongst a bunch of other people. And he was able to run free within our country from August of 2023. And look, we can go right back to January of 2023 when he fled El Salvador. He was able to run freely and do whatever he wanted to do in all his crimes and his reigns of terror. Was he a drug dealer? We don't know, but he has gang ties back to El Salvador. He was able to run free in our country for all of that time. And you could have been shoulder to shoulder with this guy in the supermarket or anywhere on the street. It's scary. Yeah, Wanda, it's scary.
Sitting at a bar in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Here he is in front of a sports bar billboard in his yellow T-shirt. He crossed the border illegally last year, tried a few times to get in and stay in. He is wanted for murder back home in El Salvador. He, by all accounts, in terms of the things he has done, including an assault on a little girl in Los Angeles, a monster of a person, if he is indeed the one who is behind all of this.
Ortham is working on it, Kiwi.
Former President Trump placing blame on President Biden and the open border, and vowing that on day one, he would shut that border down and that he would start deporting millions of Biden's illegal criminals. Those are the words of former President Donald Trump. I'm grateful to be joined by Patty Morin, the mother of Rachel Morin, who was tragically killed. She was just out for a jog at a place that she used to run all the time in Maryland, the Ma and Pa Trail. And she joins me now. Patty, my condolences for the loss of your daughter. I'm so sorry.
When I see Patty, Rachel's mom, I want to cry. When I see this woman, it breaks my heart, because you could see the look on her face of how broken she is. She 10 months ago lost her daughter to a violent rape and murder. And now she's in the middle of this political shitstorm that's going on because we have an election coming up in November. And she makes a plea here on this in this interview to please do not. I don't want my daughter's name on a flagpole. I don't want my daughter to be used as a pawn in a political game. She was a victim of violent crime, and I want justice for my daughter. So my heart breaks for this woman, and I respect her.
To you and your family for what has happened.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You know, I want to put up the cover of the New York Post. It has a beautiful picture of your daughter, and the headline is "Open Border Killer." And I wonder, you know, obviously your loss is first and foremost, but now that they have arrested this individual, when you see a headline like that, "Open Border Killer," what goes through your mind, Patty?
A couple of things. One, they're using my, and this is I don't know how this is going to come across,
Okay.
but I'll just say it the way it is. They're using my daughter like a political flag.
Okay.
And I don't want to underestimate the importance of what's going on at the southern border. We're almost 2,000 miles away from it, and we've had 2 murders in the county that I live in and Rachel lived in. So it has come all the way up, halfway up from the southern border, the United States.
Here's somebody who obviously is not getting why I'm playing this interview. This is why we have so many problems. This is here, Burgo girl. Okay, bye. I don't need to hear Fox News lies about anything, let alone the border. So she just totally disrespected Rachel Morin's mom. The reason I'm playing this is because she gave an interview and made a plea to leave her daughter out of the political game. And here's this ignorant person who I'm now going to block, or moderators just get rid of her. This is how divided and silly we are as people sometimes. Is this person is not getting why I'm playing this. I'm playing this because I'm asking people to kind of tone down the rhetoric and let justice be served for this family. And I get that the other members of this family are upset, but it's ignorant comments like that I don't have time for people like this, because this person does not care about Rachel Morin's mom, who's here asking people, don't use my daughter as a political pawn. Get a grip, lady, or man, or whoever you are. But God, get your fucking head out of your ass.
But with that said, I don't want them to take my daughter's name and put it on a flagpole for a political reason, because she's more than just a statistic. She was a mother and a daughter and someone that was very dearly loved. And I don't want to reduce her life to just a political name, if that makes sense.
Of course it does.
And
Amen.
I don't think that people, when they hear these murders caused by illegal immigrants, they would use it for whatever side they're on. And it kind of devalues the life of the person. And I really want people to understand that life itself is valuable and precious, and that's what we need to preserve. And that's what makes this an American crisis, not just a political crisis. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Which is why
Isn't it something? This is a victim's mom. Her daughter was murdered and raped. And she's asking this news reporter, does that make sense? She's trying to be so kind in delivering her message. And I get the message. I get it. Okay. She's very well spoken, Anne. And maybe the rest of the family might not, be on the same page, or some people are divided. But at the end of the day, she lost her daughter. And we have a person in custody. She wants to see this guy get the justice that he deserves to be thrown at him, and the justice that her daughter deserves, right? So that's the reason I'm playing this. I'm not playing it because I'm trying to, highlight Fox News. This is where I saw her interview. And when I heard her interview, which I do, I listen to these things before I play them, I thought that her message was powerful and I wanted to respect it.
I said, I'm sure this isn't the most important part of this story for you, because
Is valuable and precious, and that's what we need to preserve. And that's what makes this an American crisis, not just a political crisis. Does that make sense?
absolutely, which is why I said, I'm sure this isn't the most important part of this story for you, because you're just suffering with the loss of your daughter, and her children have lost their mother. I know she has an 18-year-old daughter who's also expecting a child, and the family is growing, and she should be there to see all of this. So I thank you very much for coming on and reminding everybody that these are individuals who have families, whose lives have been taken and cut short by violent acts. And the fact that this person is here illegally is certainly part of the story, because it goes to a bigger picture issue in the country. But she was your daughter, and we
Yes.
please know that our hearts are with you as you struggle through all this, and we are glad that at least the loop has been closed on apprehending her killer, the police believe. So I want to thank you, Patty, for joining us today. Thank you very much.
So there you have it. So her mom, Patty, well-spoken, and I get it totally. So I want to go to some of these highlighted messages. Thank you, Salty, for being a member for 31 months. Thank you, Kat, for becoming a YouTube member. Jojo, thank you for being a member for 27 months. Darlene, thank you for the super sticker. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you're doing well. Michael Joseph Murray, member for 8 months. Thank you for being here and always sharing. Emily, thank you for becoming a new member. Muddy Paws, I highlighted this one already. I'm just trying to make sure I get everybody. Jane Vaughn, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate it. Thank you for gifting memberships. I got you, Judy. Barbara George says the best chat on YouTube. DutyRon and Ed. Thank you, Barbara. Love you. Muddy Paws, these killers are ridiculous. Golden State Killer was more concerned about his roast in the oven than his arrest. Yeah, isn't it insane? Megan R says, DutyRon, so appreciate of all you do. Love our true crime family. I love that you're here, and I thank you for being here. Muddy Paws, thank you for being a member for 7 months, and that was her baby girl murdered. Yeah. Katina, been around forever and is a member here for over 13 months. Seattle is recruiting illegals for their police force. If that's true, that is a travesty of justice, and it's ridiculous. Cat Lover, thank you for being a member for 2 years. Greatly appreciate you, Cat Lover. All right. There was a interview with the sheriff. He did a radio interview, but I'm going to show you Sheriff Jeff Gawler. He talks about ICE detainers and how his county deals with these ICE detainers. And this is just going to give you a little bit of an idea of how his department and the police in the area in Maryland, that Bel Air area, the small police department, how they're dealing with this illegal crisis, these illegals that are coming in, and how he's partnered with ICE. So let's take a listen to the sheriff, because he's well-spoken as well, and he's loud about this.
Arrest of an undocumented
Sheriff Gawler from Rachel Morin's hometown, their police force. Here he is.
Arrest of an undocumented migrant for the murder of Rachel Morin has intensified the debate around immigration in Maryland and just how local authorities communicate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE.
So again, this is an article that I watched and listened to, and I thought it was of value to you guys, so you can understand that this is how some of the local authorities are dealing with this crisis. It's not just a Maryland problem. It's a problem in America. And I found out through some of the live chatters and people who left me comments and emails that it's happening in the UK, that it's happening in Australia, that it's happening all over the world. I had people tell me that this stuff is going on in Canada. I didn't know that all of this because I kind of pay attention to U.S. news. So I had no idea that there's a crisis worldwide with this, and it's a big problem because it's a problem for safety, public safety. Terrorists are in our country. You think that just drug and gangs are coming in, drug dealers and gang members from El Salvador? No, they're coming in from Nigeria. They're coming in from all over the place, and there are terrorists that are coming into our country as well.
Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live with a closer look at the program in place in Harford County. Maxine.
Well, Kai, it's called the.
So this is the program just in Harford County, Maryland.
Maxine.
Well, Kai, it's called the 287G program, and it gives specially trained correction deputies in Harford County immigration powers. Sheriff Gaylor says it's essential to keeping members of his county safe, but it's received a lot of pushback. Since the arrest of 23-year-old Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez for the brutal murder of Rachel Morin, Harford County Sheriff Jeff Gaylor is making his message clear, calling on the White House to fix what he calls failed immigration policies.
There are people being allowed to unchallenged to come into this country because we haven't secured the border, who are allowed to come into the country not to make a better life for themselves or for their family, but they're coming here to do evil deeds. And this guy showed it within a month of coming into the country, violently assaulting a home invasion and violently assaulting a 9-year-old and her mother.
Gaylor says Martinez Hernandez is a citizen of El Salvador who illegally crossed the border last year after allegedly murdering a woman in the country.
When it comes to honoring ICE detainers, we've been talking with different counties a lot on this topic and the notice the agency receives before they release these suspects with detainers. What is the policy here in Harford County?
We are much different. We are one of 3 counties. We were the second, and now we're one of 3 counties in the state that participate with the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, through the 287G partnership.
The 287G program authorizes ICE to delegate state and local law enforcement officers the authority to perform specified immigration officer functions. Local agencies can identify and remove incarcerated criminal non-citizens before they are released into the community through 2 models: jail enforcement and warrant service. Harford County is one of 3 Maryland counties, including Frederick and Cecil counties, who operate under the jail model.
We have deputies at the detention center, completely separate from law enforcement. These are correction deputies, correction-based program, where anyone arrested in the county comes in, fingerprints, photographs, just like you would do with any arrestee. But the additional step is taken to see by these specially trained deputies to see if they are in the country, the person's in the country illegally. If not, that is reported to ICE, and ICE has the ability to follow the detainer based on 2 priorities of that organization: public safety and national security.
As of February of this year, 61 law enforcement agencies in 17 states participate in the jail model, and 75 agencies in 11 states participate in the warrant model. Harford County has been a part of the program since May 2017, and as of last year, there were 6 correctional deputies trained and certified with ICE. In 2022, the 287G unit in Harford County screened nearly 3,000 arrestees and sentenced inmates, lodging 43 detainers.
The sheriff of Harford County, as any sheriff,
and those detainers, they get acted upon quickly. So if there's an ICE detainer attached, those people, those 43 that they attach the detainers to, they get deported back to their home country. They get sent back. But as we know, they wind up somehow moseying on back in because there's no one to stop them from coming back in. So that's the problem. It's like a revolving door. This guy, allegedly, the perp here in Rachel Morin's case, Victor Martinez Hernandez, allegedly came into this country 4 different times, was taken out, came back in, taken out, came back in, taken out, came back in 4 times. So
sheriff in the state, or any chief, or any governor, or any mayor, any county executive, Why would you want to open the door and let someone back out into your community when you have a federal law enforcement agency telling you this person poses a public safety threat or a national security threat? To me, 40 years doing this, that's insane.
The ACLU has called to terminate the program in Maryland counties, saying it instills fear within immigrant communities by alienating and racially discriminating against immigrants.
See, the ACLU, this is where I disagree with them, because they're not targeting legal immigrants that go through the legal process. Just like Joey Brooklyn just said, his father, our ancestors, lots of our ancestors and lots of families here listening today migrated in here legally into the country in different times, in the early 1900s, the mid 1900s, whatever the case may be. I'm all for legally coming into this country and going and getting vetted. So the ACLU, they just throw the book at this thing and be like, "Oh, this isn't right." And let's listen to this again. And then they, some people just scale over this, but the ACLU wants to fight this in court to try to stop it. And they're trying to stop the law enforcement and the feds from stopping, weeding out these bad guys. What in the actual fuck?
This is a public safety threat or a national security threat. To me, 40 years doing this, that's insane.
The ACLU has called to terminate the program in Maryland counties, saying it instills fear within immigrant communities by alienating and racially discriminating against immigrants.
Oh, hell no.
All right. Anyway, so just so you guys know, tomorrow, sometime during the day, there'll be some live coverage. I'm going to be watching it. If there's anything live where it shows this guy being booked in or anything like that, I will be on it and I'll bring it to you live tomorrow. But I don't know. I don't know if they're going to cover it live or if they're going to have anything like sort of like what happened when Brian Kohlberger came in on the plane. They had like they were following him. I don't think that's going to happen because they're going to do this secretly. But I want to say thank you to all of you guys for being here and being respectful and understanding kind of what I did here tonight. Is I wanted to do the coverage on the transport that this guy is being extradited. I said it on Saturday night. I bet my actual pension on it because I worked in the Fugitive Enforcement Division in the New York City Police Department. So I did extraditions all the time. And I knew that this was not going to be dragged out for 60 days or 10 days or whatever. I knew that this was going to be done quickly because the authorities in Hartford want this guy. They want his ass in Maryland. And the authorities in Tulsa, Oklahoma, they don't want nothing to do with this guy. They're like, get him the F out of here. They're just trying to figure out how many crimes he committed over in Tulsa or along the way. So, again, I want to thank you all for being here and being, again, part of this community. You guys are what makes it great. I want to thank the moderators, Joey Brooklyn, ATS News, Black Rose 11, Katina, Richella Pranzo and Pete Pranzo, everybody that's moderating here tonight, Princess Mitch, Heather, whatever. Thank you for being here, Florida Pete, also with the wrench, part of the wrench squad. Scotty 400 says it's ridiculous. Yeah, I know it is. Trust me, brother. I know. I'm with you. I'm all for law and order. I want to be able to live with my kids and my grandkids and my family and my friends. I want to be able to move about this country freely without having to worry about some undocumented, illegal, gun-toting gang member attacking me or my family or anybody around me. We shouldn't have to live like that, and that's a problem. The bottom line is that you have to be aware of your surroundings and you have to protect yourselves. What I do is I don't allow my adult kids, myself included, my wife included, we don't go into the 5 boroughs anymore. I don't go into New York County. I don't go into Brooklyn. I don't go into Queens. I don't go into Manhattan. I don't go to the Bronx or Staten Island. unless I have to, because that's part of the Sanctuary City program where these unvetted can come in and move freely about those boroughs. Yeah, I know that they can come into my borough because I'm close to it, where I live in Nassau County, and I'm well aware of it. But I take these steps to keep myself safe, and I think all of you guys should too, as well. So on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, I want to thank you for being here. I love and appreciate you guys. Heck, we're at like 326,000 subscribers and growing. Every day we keep growing, and it's because of great people like you telling your friends and family to come and check us out and be a part of this community. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate you, Sean B. and all you guys. You are what makes this a great place. Thank you to the replay viewers, the super chatters, and everybody in between. On behalf of Ed Wallace and DutyRon, I'm going to wish you guys a good night. Strength, prayers, and positive vibes go out to Rachel Morin's family, her 5 children, her daughter, her eldest, 18 years old, having a child, her mom, and everybody involved, the law enforcers, the prosecutors, and everyone that's involved in this case. Sending strength, prayers, and positive vibes. Good night from New York. Peace and love from Crime Time with DutyRon.